Today I'm going to be preparing a pasta dinner that my family really enjoys. Little mezzi rigatoni mixed with cooked chicken sausage that I've crumbled up, and I make sort of a tomatoey cream sauce with it. It's very delicious and very easy to make, so I thought I'd show it to you. So I just happened to get these mild Italian chicken sausages from Stop & Shop. I got 2 packs because I am going to be making enough for 8 people tonight. They look like this, and they're never perfectly sealed on the ends, but for our purposes, that's really perfect. I squeeze the middle, and I sort of squeeze them out of the casing. So let me quickly get all of them in here. I already have the pan on. I don't use oil. I don't really need any oil. You could certainly use a little, but all of anything that sticks to the bottom of the pan is going to scrape off when I add a little bit of wine. I'll deglaze the pan with a little bit of wine, which is really nice. Now the alcohol does burn off, so you don't need to worry about serving this to children, as long as you cook it long enough. Okay, so that's 1 pack of sausage. They look kind of crazy, I know. And when I'm in a rush, I do 2 at a time. Now, you're definitely going to want to wash your hands very well after doing this. So the nice thing about using sausages like this is that they're pre-seasoned, so you really don't need to season them at all. These are mild Italian chicken sausages. Sometimes I do 1 pack of mild and 1 pack of hot or spicy Italian sausage. That's really good. You could of course use pork sausage. We just tend to use turkey and chicken for most of our meat things. Okay, my hands are washed, and I'm going to go in. I'm going to lower the heat just a little bit, and I'm just going to spend a little bit of time chopping up the sausage as it cooks. So you can see that the chicken sausage is almost completely cooked, and you can actually see that all the bits that were starting to stick to the bottom are starting to release just from the water that is naturally in the chicken. One of the reasons I really like using chicken sausage instead of pork sausage is that it's just so much lower in grease. So it's all basically cooked. I have a little bit of white wine left over from a dinner party. When we have dinner parties and we have wine left over, I store them in mason jars for cooking. Sometimes there's nothing left, but so I'm just going to pour a little bit of white wine, turn up the flame a little bit, finish deglazing the pan. Deglazing the pan is sort of getting all the little bits stuck off that are stuck on the bottom off, and mix that around. And then I'm going super lazy today. Very often I will pour in just fresh tomatoes or a jar of plum tomatoes, but I was at the grocery store and they had this Rayo's marinara sauce on sale, and if you haven't tried this, this is really delicious. I highly recommend it. So I'm just going to be super lazy today, and I'm going to use this. So for 2 packages of sausage, I use an entire jar, and I'm just going to pour the whole thing in, and I'm going to use a little bit of wine, a little more wine, just a splash, and shake it up, clean out the jar with the wine, get the last bits of the tomato sauce, and this will thicken up as it cooks, so I'm not worried about making too thin a sauce. Okay, I'm just going to slowly mix this around, and then bring this down to low and let this lightly simmer for 10 to 15 minutes tops. Make sure everything is mixed well. It's already looking and smelling quite delicious. Okay, cover it, and we'll be back in 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, this has been simmering for about 15 minutes now, so I'm just going to take the lid off and give it a little stir. The last step in this sauce, because it's so easy, is to just add a little bit of heavy cream to it. Now, I bought a little half pint size container. I'm not sure if I'm going to use the whole thing. I kind of do it by eye. I don't like too much because then it's too heavy a sauce. So just a little bit gives it just, I don't know, a richness that you can't beat. I think I'll do another splash. So I probably am using half of this half pint container. And that's just about right. Okay, so that's the sauce made. Now I'm just going to cover it and actually turn off the heat and let it sit and let all the flavors meld together very nicely. And when I cook the rigatoni, I will then put the rigatoni right into the sauce and turn it on and sort of cook the rigatoni the last 5 minutes with the sauce. So in the meantime, I'm going to show you what we're going to do for our vegetable. So now I'm going to show you what we're going to do for our vegetable. I'm going to make roasted broccoli. And if you've never tried roasted broccoli, I highly recommend it. It is delicious. So I've cut up some broccoli crowns right here, and I'm going to put them inside of this bowl to make room for the garlic that I'm going to cut up. And I'm going to spill broccoli everywhere. Broccoli is washed. It's cut into, you know, sort of various size pieces. You don't have to be perfectly uniform with this, unless you want every piece of broccoli to cook exactly the same way. In my family, some of us like it a little bit more burned or a little browner on the edges. Some of us like it a little more well done. Some of us like it a little more raw. We also include stems in here because some of my family members like stems and some do not. So now that I've gotten the broccoli in there, I'm just gonna chop up some garlic. And I'll say again, I said it once before in my soup video, I am by no means do I have any formal cooking training. I just really enjoy cooking and cook a lot. And I'm always looking for quick and easy recipes to make because we're a very busy family of 4, and I'm sure many of you are very busy, whether you're a family of 1 or a family of more than 4. We are all busy. So finding quick and easy and healthy and delicious recipes is important. Come on, piece of garlic. Thank you. I do this method. It's kind of messy. Get garlic all over my fingers. I'm sure there are other methods of getting the skin off that are easier, but this is the way I've always done it and will always do it. I cut off the little rough ends, get those to the side, and then I'm just giving it kind of you don't want to dice it too fine because the garlic will definitely burn. You want to give it kind of a rough chop, a little more, and then toss that right in with the broccoli. So let's move this out of the way. Okay, so broccoli and garlic together. And now all we need is olive oil and salt. I got this huge container of olive oil from Costco. It's organic, it's pretty good. It was an amazing price and it's gonna last me forever. I'm gonna give a kind of a generous pour of olive oil. And my hands are gonna get very grody once again. So before I start mixing, I'm gonna add the salt. This was a gift from somebody, pure Himalayan ancient sea salt, but you can use whatever salt you have on hand. I like to use sea salt or kosher salt, and you wanna give a fairly generous sprinkling of the salt. And if you like pepper, a little bit of pepper. So I'll just do a light grind of pepper on there. And then I'm gonna go in with my hands and toss it all together. This definitely isn't as messy as the sausage, but I will have a, runaway broccoli. I will have a coating. Some of these are a little on the big side, so I'm gonna break them a little more. smells really good. That garlic is very strong. You don't need a lot. Wow, how did this giant guy get in here? There we go. Okay, so this is ready. My hands are gross, so I'm gonna rinse them off quickly. And I'm gonna bring over my baking sheet. And I'm just going to, now this is a lot of broccoli for one baking sheet. That looks crowded to me, so I'm actually gonna get a second baking sheet because that looks too, I have a second baking sheet here now, and I'm gonna transfer half of this and spill a quarter of it over. And so when you don't crowd it, let's grab some garlic because it all fell to the bottom. When you don't crowd the pan, it gives it the opportunity to crisp up a little bit more. So I have 2 baking sheets of broccoli. We're gonna have a lot of broccoli tonight, but that's great. We love broccoli. And I'm gonna pop these in a 400-degree oven for, it's gonna go in for, so I will let you know. I will type it in, and when I pull it out, I'll let you know how long I do. So once my water comes to a boil, I'm going to add in a generous amount of salt to season the pasta. And I'm using this mezzi rigatoni by Barilla. Really cute little sort of half rigatoni, and I'm just going to pour today for 8 people 2 boxes of pasta in. Give it a little stir, and I'll stir it ever so often while it's boiling. So the pasta is starting to be more cooked. I'm not going to cook it 100% in the water because what I want it to do is really soak up the sauce that I'm making right here. So I have turned the heat back on this. It is not fully heated up yet, which is okay because we are going to spend some time cooking this pasta in the sauce. So I am going to start to scoop it. I'm going to let some of the water drain off, but we are going to need some of the pasta water to help the sauce. As this cooks, the sauce is going to get very thick, and we're going to need to thin it out, and the best thing to thin it out with is your pasta water because it's nice and salty from the salt that you put in to cook the pasta, and it's also nice and starchy. This pan may not be big enough for all of this, so I'm going to just do a little at a time, and I'm going to just start to mix it around. The pasta is definitely not fully cooked, but we want this pasta to finish cooking in the sauce. Like I said, it's going to absorb the sauce and the flavors of the sauce and make it 10 times more delicious. But look at how cute these little rigatonis are. Don't they look great? So I can see already that the sauce is starting to not cover as much of the pasta as I want. There's not a lot. So I'm going to go in with a measuring cup, and I'm just going to scoop up a little bit of the pasta water. Trust me, this works. So then you see it sort of creates a little more sauce, but it doesn't dilute the sauce as much as you think it would dilute it because it's water. It's such a nicely seasoned water with the salt and the starch that it doesn't dilute it. I guess that was my point before. So I am going to let this sort of cook down, and I'm going to keep stirring it, and I'll come back to you when it's ready to plate. I just pulled the broccoli out of the oven. It was in for 15 minutes, and you can see that some of them are very, very dark and crispy and crunchy, delicious, and some are a little bit less so. I'm gonna pour these into a bowl. And the easiest way to do that is just to pick up the parchment paper. I always use parchment. Pour it in. So that's one tray. Just lost one. That happens sometimes. And that's 2 trays of broccoli. And this is ready to go. It is delicious. These brown bits are a little bit caramelized and crispy. The broccoli is tender but not overcooked. It is an absolutely delicious vegetable to serve. And this is ready to go. The pasta is cooked al dente, which means it has just a little bit of a bite to it. It's not rubbery. The sauce has soaked into it very nicely, and there's still a nice amount down at the bottom of the pan. And I'm just scraping. I feel every once in a while a little bit of the sausage stuck, so I'm just giving it a little scrape to make sure that we get all of this delicious stuff. This is it, ready to be served. I'm just gonna do a little sprinkle of Parmesan on the top. This is what's for dinner. Rigatoni pasta with a delicious sausage, tomato cream sauce, and roasted garlic broccoli. Thanks so much for joining me. Please remember to like the video, tap the notification bell, hit subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.